Hey everyone, I just wanted to quickly mention that this video will contain spoilers for the first episode of the Bad Batch TV series. If you haven't had a chance to see the first two episodes yet and would like to avoid spoilers or discussions for the episodes and series at this point, as always, I would ask that you please proceed with caution. With that, let's take a look at whether clone troopers within the current canon were able to act contrary to the biochips that forced them to execute Order 66, or whether this was a permanent influence for the clone troopers after the Clone War. As we've seen throughout numerous examples within the current canon, the first episode of the Bad Batch TV series further demonstrated the success Darth Sidious was able to achieve in carrying out the Sith Grand Plan to destroy the Republic and Jedi. Through the biochip placed within every clone trooper, they were forced to carry out Order 66, eliminating the Jedi and thereby destroying their order. However, as we also saw in the first episode entitled Aftermath, the biochip didn't simply work over a short period of time, taking control of the troopers long enough merely for them to turn against their Jedi generals on the battlefield. Instead, the influence of the biochip and Order 66 on the clone troopers had a much longer influence. As we see, they also fully supported the New Galactic Empire and the Emperor once it was declared by Palpatine. This long-term allegiance to Palpatine and the Empire, and continued efforts against the Jedi demonstrated by the clone troopers, has been seen in other areas within the canon lore. For example, in the 2017 Darth Vader comic series, we see a group of clone troopers assisting the Empire through their mission upon a Jedi outpost, while also attempting to eliminate Darth Vader when they believed the Sith Lord was a Jedi, continuing the efforts they began through Order 66. Even more, in the Kanan comic series, we see the continued actions of Commander Gray and Captain Styles in attempting to find and eliminate Kanan, who of course at that time was the Jedi Padawan Caleb Dume in the aftermath of the Clone War. So it must be asked, within the current canon, how permanent are the effects caused by the biochips that forced the clone troopers to carry out Order 66 and ally themselves with the Empire and against the Jedi? Was it possible for them to overcome the influence of the biochip, to understand the truth of Order 66, and remember the way they had fought together with the Jedi? And of course, when we say stop following Order 66, we're not talking about that outcome through the removal of their biochips as experienced by Captain Rex, or in a way experienced by unique troopers like Clone Force 99. Instead, we're looking at whether clone troopers in general were able to turn against the biochips that forced them to carry out Order 66, and continuously work to assist the Empire by locating and destroying the Jedi. Fortunately, through the story of Commander Gray and Captain Styles, we do have an example within the current canon where a clone trooper did exactly that. Just as we saw within the first episode of the Bad Batch, the Kanan comic series reveals the moment Order 66 was executed by Palpatine on the planet of Kaller, resulting in the clone troopers turning against Jedi Master Depa Billaba and her Jedi Padawan Caleb Dume. Through the actions of the clone troopers, including Commander Gray and Captain Styles, Depa Billaba was eventually killed, but in her final moments, she implored her Padawan to run, allowing Caleb to escape. With the rise of Palpatine's New Galactic Empire, Caleb was forced into hiding, doing what he could to survive in a galaxy that turned against the Jedi. More specifically, Caleb had to avoid both Gray and Styles, who in having failed to fully complete the requirements of Order 66 previously, continued to search for Caleb throughout the galaxy, demonstrating their continued allegiance to the Empire. Eventually, the two clone troopers would locate Caleb, prepared to, in their words, finish what they started. Having taken Caleb prisoner on board their ship, Gray and Styles prepared to eliminate him, carrying out what they saw as their duty, viewing the Jedi as traitors. However, as Caleb eventually regained consciousness, he confronted the two troopers, attempting to reveal the truth of the situation to them. For example, he told Gray and Styles that the Jedi never betrayed the Republic or the clone troopers, and instead, the betrayal was conducted by Palpatine, who Caleb said used them to destroy the Jedi to allow for the creation of the Empire. Even more important, Caleb attempted to remind them of just how close they were with Jedi Master Depa Billaba, questioning if they truly believed that she could have ever been a traitor. At that point, despite Caleb's attempt, we see that both Gray and Styles were unconvinced and prepared to eliminate the Jedi, still influenced by the biochip and Order 66. However, Caleb would use the Force to push the two troopers and then eject himself from the ship. Fortunately for Caleb, he survived after being rescued by 2 allies he made previously, but Gray and Styles were not ready to give up and prepared to target the 2 ships that had rescued Caleb. As it appeared that the clone troopers were going to succeed in eliminating the 2 opposing ships, we then see Commander Gray come to an important realization, which he revealed to Captain Styles. He recognized that what Caleb said was true. Deepa Billaba had been their hero. Although Styles still wasn't convinced, Gray also recognized that he followed and carried out Order 66 as if he was under some type of spell, where he had no will of his own or memories of the battles he'd fought. Gray also pointed out that he never even considered whether he should question Order 66, and in knowing that Deepa Billaba died through his actions, he wanted Styles to consider what they were doing then and there before it was too late. However, unlike Gray, Styles refused, instead accusing Gray of also speaking like a traitor, believing that they did what they had to do, choosing not to listen to Gray and continue their efforts to try to eliminate Caleb. Just as it appeared that they would succeed in destroying the 2 opposing ships, and Caleb as well, Commander Gray raised his blaster and fired at their ship's controls, causing them to completely lose their shields. Styles, clearly still not able to remove himself from the effects of the biochip and Order 66, immediately asked Gray what he was doing. Gray simply replied that he was making it right, something he repeated, sacrificing himself to allow Caleb to destroy their ship so the Jedi could escape. Through the actions of Commander Gray, we have an example within canon where a clone trooper was able to act contrary to Order 66 when presented with the truth as revealed by Caleb, something Captain Styles wasn't able to accomplish. I think this example is important when attempting to understand why the Empire considered whether they should continue to utilize clone troopers within the Imperial era, something connected to Tarkin's role within the first episode of The Bad Batch. As seen with Commander Gray, although a clone trooper might have fully executed Order 66 and then dedicated themselves to Emperor Palpatine and the Empire, it was still possible for them to recognize the truth of the situation, whereby they were no longer loyal to the Empire, but to the Jedi. Ultimately, as seen within the Star Wars propaganda A History of Persuasive Art in the Galaxy Guide, it was decided to quietly phase out the clone troopers. As the guide mentions, the troopers were seen to have done their part, and from Palpatine's perspective, that was of course true, as they helped to carry out the Clone War across the galaxy, and executed Order 66 to carry out the destruction of the Jedi. Instead, the Star Wars propaganda guide reveals that the clone troopers were replaced by a volunteer army. This was because following the Clone War, Palpatine was seen as a galactic hero, given that it appeared that he had united the galaxy. Importantly for our video, given the significant amount of Imperial military propaganda that followed after the Clone War, individuals throughout the Empire were encouraged to join the Imperial Army or Navy, and those who did were recognized as being a potential trooper who was much more consistent and malleable when compared to the clone troopers who came before them. This information from the guide makes sense when compared to the actions of Commander Gray, who was able to change his allegiances when presented with the information provided by Caleb. In this way, we see that for the clone troopers, the influence of the biochip and Order 66 wasn't necessarily something that was permanent in every case and situation, and clone troopers could act contrary to these elements to help the Jedi. But let me know what you thought about the first 2 episodes of The Bad Batch and some of the aspects you're hoping to see in Season 1 down in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching everyone, and as always, may the Force be with you.